All right. So pretty straightforward to get a React Native project up and running. We're just going to do the npx command. That's what they recommend you use in the React Native docs. React-native init, and then the name of the project. So this will be like a React. Cool. So we'll just let this one build. This kind of, just to kind of like re-show this, these can kind of like the init, and especially the, when we like try to build the app to the phone, can take a little bit of time. But that was pretty quick. Yeah, just as a reminder, like we're only doing this on iPhone, so iOS devices. We would need to do some more setup for Android. For like Android, you would need to install, I forget what it's called. You'd have to install their IDE, just kind of like we had to install Xcode. It's like the Java developer tools, or I forget what that thing is called. You'd have to install the IDE for Android. We're going to skip that just because that one, like Xcode, it's a huge file. It's a huge project. It's like probably like 8 gigs. But if you do continue on with like React Native and do like a Udemy course, they'll probably go through that as well. And it's in the React Native docs. It's very similar to what we did. Cool. So we can go ahead and CD into here. Now this one's just saying CD into here and do the React Native run iOS. You can do that, and behind the scenes that will open up a terminal running what's called like the Metro bundler, but we can also just run the Metro bundler right here by running npx React Native. Start. And I can split a terminal. So this one needs to be running. That's kind of like my server. And then I can, on this one, do the npx React Native iOS. So this is our app from yesterday. We don't have that runtime running for this. So what I can do is just swipe up, because that's going to be yesterday's app. Then yeah, it's just going to be building this separate one. that's going to take a second. So while you're doing this, I do want to just give out a little bit of a brain teaser. And then that way, you know, while people are working on the brain teaser, if anyone's having issues with this getting set up, I can help them out. I just noticed here, like it said, it was successfully built the app. It's bundling it now. That's what's going on here. So this kind of builds it. And once it's built, we're done here. But now this, where we ran npx React Native start, that's listening for changes. And that's going to like bundle everything. And then there's our welcome screen. The close out of here. You know, I still have that first React Native app, but I'm not going to be able to use this because I don't have that npx React Native start running for that one. But now I can run this one. Cool. All right. Trying to think of a. So let's do a little bit of brain teaser here. Let's do one that's just kind of test our knowledge of functions. All right. So here's the brain teaser I'm going to give for you. I'm just going to come and do a demo.js. This one, I'll kind of be a little explicit on what to do. So it's more maybe just following instructions, but just kind of, you know, well, here's what you want to do. So write a function that returns a function that returns a number. You know, write a function here that is a function that returns a function that returns a number. So here, I want you to you know, add one to that return value. So here you would like call the function, and just, I should say this, you know, grab somehow grab that number returned and add one. So it's going to be, I'm going to do a couple of these. That's going to be 1. 2, let's do this. Write function that takes a function that returns a function that returns a number. So once again, it adds and returns that number. I'm going to keep this one the same, so we're going to do something similar for the third thing. You're going to write a function that takes a function, I should say that returns a number. That's a little more clear. That returns a number. This one, it adds one to it and returns a function that returns that number.
So it's 4 functions in total.
Oh, yeah, right. Function. Well, okay, so this is like one function, but there's going to be a function inside of that. This is one function. So you're writing one function here. You're going to, that takes a function out of, yeah. I guess if you count that one, that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, really, you're just writing 3 functions. But some of those functions are going to have functions in them. Some of them are going to take functions. So really there's going to be these 3 main ones, but then yeah, some of them might have like anonymous functions in them. Cool. And let's see, what time is it? It's 8:50. I'll give you, oh sorry, it's 9:50. I'll give you until 10:05 on that. And also let me know if you're having any issues with this setup. If where you should be with the React Native stuff is right here with this screen showing. So I'll just ask right now, is anyone having any right now, need any help with the React Native stuff? Good. Cool. Let me know if you do run into issues. I'll be around and I can help you out with that. All right. I'm just going to go through these really quick and then we'll get on with React Native. So let's look at this one. Make sure I'm streaming recording. Okay. So write a function that returns a function that returns a number. Okay, so write a function. I don't know. I'm just going to call this func1. This is a function that returns a function that returns a number. I'll say 1. So somehow grab that number being returned and add 1. So here we actually kind of want to try to use that. So I'm going to right here call my function. Well, when I call this function, this is actually just this function right here, right? So what I could do is I could just call that function like that. And then that one. Just a variable. Let sum equal that. Sum. Test this out node demo.js. And there we go. So this function returns 1. And so then we're doing 1 plus 1 is 2. Has anyone ever seen this syntax before where you have like a parenthesis and then there's another parenthesis right by it? So if you ever see that, this first function, that should probably be returning a function because then you're just immediately calling it right there. Did anyone get that one or you could have done this would have been fine as well if you would have done, let number or let func a like 1a equal that. Stored that to a, called this result that you store to a variable. You could have taken the return function, stored it into a variable called func1, then called that, stored that to a variable, and then, 1 plus 1, there's your 2. I just kind of wanted to show you this way. Since this function 1, when I call it, it returns a function, I can just go ahead and immediately call that function. So let's try this one. Write a function that takes a function that returns a number, and I should say this, and adds 1 to it, and returns that number. So write a function, so we'll just call this const func2 that takes a function. So this is going to take some function. Let's call this whatever. Yeah, function2 parameter. Okay. So this takes a function that returns a number. So I'm expecting this function to return a number. So I could just return this function. I'm going to call it, and then I'm going to plus 1. Because just by how I define this, I'm expecting this function that's passed as a parameter I'm expecting it to return a number, and then I just add a 1 to that. And then I can return that. So to run this or to like test it, I'm going to give this a function that returns a number. Why don't I just use I could use this. Let's write an anonymous function in here. So write a function that returns a number. Let's just pass it an anonymous function. There we go. Right, that's just a shorthand way that we're implicitly returning 1. Do const sum2 equals that. Console.log sum2. Yeah, let's see. So I could also just pass it my first function 1, because when I call this function, that's going to return the function that returns a number. So that should also work. Let's look at this one. Write a function that takes a function that returns a number and adds 1 to it and returns a function that returns that number. All right. So const func3. So I'm expecting this to take, some function. I'm just going to call it func3 param. Takes a function. This function should return a number. So I could say like let num equal function3 param, because I'm expecting this function to return a number and adds 1. So we could just +1 right here. And returns a function that returns that number. So then this is going to be a function return a function that returns that number. I could have also, done all of this inside of here. But we'll just leave it like that. So this function 3 param returns a number. I'm going to add 1. But then the func3 function, I want that to return a function that returns that number. So if I want to use this, let's do const sum3. That's going to be function 3. Give it a function that returns a number. There we go. There's my function that returns a number. Let me ask you, what's the way I have this written right now? What is sum3? Like, what type of data is sum3 going to be?
Function.
Yeah, that's going to be a function. So if I wanted to pull off the value, then I could just once again call it here. Console.log sum3. Yes. And there we go. There's our 2. So yeah, really just, made up kind of dumb examples, but I think this, if you go through and kind of do some of these, you can kind of just do this on your own, kind of make up some of these little examples, really just to catch where maybe you're a little confused on, or maybe you don't quite get some of these things.
Why is it still 2 if you were adding 1 to it a couple times?
These are all different variables. So I have some 2, some 2a.
Oh, you weren't linking them. They were just 3 separate brain teasers.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
These are all, yeah. And all these functions, that's function 1, function 2, function 3. So they're all separate variables. So yeah, and I'll select that out. I'll give you a little solution. I think this would be a good one to like go through and just, maybe switch some things up and just, kind of play around with this. If you're kind of, because JavaScript is such a, functional program. Like you do so much with functions. And I mean, you do it a lot, just like when you're coding in React and doing websites, there's all these, event handlers, asynchronous calls. So there's a lot of, passing functions and to functions and that get called asynchronously. So it's just kind of good to really just get this kind of solidified in your head. We don't really see so much a function returning a function. I think the one example where we see that is, in the use effect, where we can have the use effect, because the use effect is just a function that if we do define a function that it returns, that's what's going to get called when the component mounts. So this is a little less common, but you will see it. If we get to Redux, we might see this syntax of like, where is it? Right here, like you calling something and then you immediately call something right after. So it's like these 2 parentheses. I think like the first time I saw that, I was like, what the hell is going on there? There's also, let me just show you this. It's actually been a while since I wrote one of these, so let's see if I can actually get it to work. So you might see something like this as well. So let's just say I have some function. I'm just going to call it like, I'm not even going to give it a name. And let's just say this function console.log hello. Now, normally I would give this a name. But let's say I don't give this a name. Now it's like yelling at me because it doesn't have a name. But what if I wanted to call this function without giving it a name? What I can do is I can wrap this in a parenthesis. And then I can call it. Does it really, function statements require a function name? Okay, I guess it wants a name. Because normally, okay, let's just do this. I would have this function X. This is the function definition, and then I would call it down here. Hello. But you might see this syntax where it gets wrapped in parentheses, and then I call it. So this would be called like a, it's a IIFE, it's a immediately invoked function expression. I'm just like defining my function and then I'm immediately calling it. So that's all that is. You might see that term when you're looking at some JavaScript stuff. So. All right, cool. So that I'm going to close out of this. Well, first of all, any questions on this? Cool. So if not, let's go ahead and just get started with React Native. So what I'm going to do here, let's just open this up in code. And then also just get to do this because it's always done usually. So I'm going to just do a get init, just do a quick little get add commit -m. So get all that initial stuff committed. Yeah, so for today's lecture, we're going to really focus a lot on React navigation, which is a way to have, you know, different pages on our React app. So let's just go ahead and look at it. So here's the React navigation. Now you don't have to use React navigation. It's like React doesn't have any, you know, React Native, like just kind of like React doesn't by default include React Router, and there might be some other options out there. It's like you definitely are probably going to be using React Router. React navigation is a lot like that. There was back in the day, like another one that like there was, you know, you could kind of choose between two of them, but I really think React navigation has kind of won out. So this is a, you know, a good one to do. So if we look at their actual docs, React navigation. They're going to give us like a couple different things, you know, they'll give us a way to do like what's called a stack navigator. So think about like having, you know, a screen pop up and then there's like a back button that would like take you back to where you were. Think about like a mobile app tabs. These are very common tabs, you know, where you select different tabs and that takes you to different sections of the app. Give you a way to maybe do a modal or like a drawer navigation where, you know, you could get like a whole menu like sliding over. So that's what we're going to use. So just looking at some of the prereqs. This is just kind of like, you know, it's just, they're just saying you need to be familiar with like React and React Native, which I think, you know, we are. I know we've only spent one day on React Native, but don't you kind of feel like you know it pretty well just because you know React? It's really, it is really pretty straightforward. So installation is going to be, I think one of the nice things about this, because installations are not nice, but just to kind of demo, there's going to be a little different setup because when we installed something like Axios yesterday, Axios is just a JavaScript library. So there's nothing really special we need to set up. React navigation, this project is going to have some actual native code associated with it. So it's going to have like native like iOS files and Android files. So there might be some extra setup with that. Let's go ahead and get this set up. So we want to go into, I'm going to use Yarn. Let's just go ahead and do this one. So installation, we're going to do @yarn add @react navigation /native. We're not. So the other thing we're not doing is we're not using Expo, so we'll just install. I don't even know if we're technically using a bare React Native project, but we'll want to install these ones as well. So let's go ahead and install this. So React Native navigation /native. Go ahead and run that. Let's slack these out. Right. And we'll go ahead and add these ones. Okay, so there's some extra steps here. So if we're using React Native 6.0 and higher, but this linking is automatic, so we don't need to run React Native link. So if you're ever unsure like what version of React Native we were using, we could just open this up in code, get our package JSON. You know, look at our React Native version, and we're .67. So we don't need to worry about running this React Native link. So if we're on a Mac, so this is what we're doing, we're developing for iOS. You need to install the pods. So we've installed these libraries. And like I said, with something like Axios, we don't have to do this step because it's just a JavaScript library. But since we're actually installing some native code for Mac, we're going to want to run this connect npx pod install iOS. So I'll go ahead and click yes. So that's my password. And this is taking forever. Is that an error? Okay. Let's see, does it not like that? Oh, I think this was the error you were getting, Michael. So I don't have 2.74 installed.
Yeah, and I went and changed it in my project again to 3.0.2, and mine ran just fine just now. So
Cool. Yeah, so to see what version you have, you can do RBENV version. Oh, no, I need a CD backpack. So yeah, we should all have 3.0.2, but so that's one I have installed. If I say versions, that would show me all the ones I have installed on my computer, which I only have one. You might have more. And the star is going to tell you which one's active. But when I CD into this iOS folder, or even into the React Native demo and do RBENV version, it's going to say, this 2.74 is not installed. So what I could do is I could install that RBENV install 2.7.4, and then I would have that version on my computer. I don't want to do that because that's going to take a second. So I could just go into my project. This is using 2.74, so I could just change that to 3.0.2 and go to my gem file. Change that to 3.0.2. Or I could just like get rid of this. That. And then it's just gonna use the one I have by default. So if I get rid of those two, I comment out in my .ruby version, just get rid of the version and comment out that. Like CD backpack, CD into React. And do RBENV version. So that's just going to use that one. Because this RBENV version is just going to tell which one to use. So I could just do 3.0.2 inside of here. Now that's saying, hey, if I don't have anything in there, it'll just say use what's in your system. If I do put something in there, then it will tell which one to use. So I'm going to try this. Let's try this other command again and see if that fails. The one npx pod install iOS. Let's see if we can get that to work. And there we go. So now that's installing those into that folder. So if I were to let's see if we can see this. This podlock file, that's in my iOS directory. It's adding it there. I'm sure it might have even installed some pods in here, did it? But anyway, notice how that iOS folder has changed. So that's what's going on there. If we were to be doing Android, we would need to go into this main activity.java and add the package there. Import this. So there'd be these kind of extra steps to get this working on Android devices. So when it comes to installing, I guess the big takeaway here is when you're installing third-party apps on React Native, you really do want to pay attention to the documentation and just follow their steps. Sometimes it is like Axios, where you just need to do the yarn add Axios. Other times you might need to go in to the files and actually, do what they want you to do. So. Cool. So also another thing when we do this, if it's like, if we're building out another project, or like, sorry, we're adding a library like this, I would just go ahead and restart my bundler. And also just run React native, run iOS again. Once again, I don't need to do that if it's just a JavaScript library, but this one now we are getting an error. This one, I'm just gonna see if this is gonna fix it. Okay. Let's run this again, React native npx. I'm gonna do this. Sometimes this happened to me, like, so React Native can be a little buggy, not buggy, I shouldn't say buggy, but like when you add packages sometimes, or like when you make a big change like this, you get these errors. One thing that I like learned just to do, like when I get like an error kind of like that, like I just added a package, I tried to rebuild it, it's not working. There might be some stuff going on with like caching and whatever, just your computer's trying to be efficient. Something I would do is just maybe delete the app. So if you go into it, like it's like you would from your phone. You go in, you like hold it down because that's how you delete an app in an iPhone. And then you get this drop up, and I'm just going to remove app. I'm going to delete app. So now it's like deleted from my emulator. It's also, and then I can rebuild my app. Let's go again. All right. npx start. I'm gonna try running this. I don't know if you're getting this error, but I'm just gonna control C out of here and then run that command they're telling me to run. npx React Native run iOS. Oh, I forgot to do the start. Okay, this is still failing. All right. Well, something I did, let's see here. Is everyone else like, is this breaking for everyone else? It's not sure what they want us to do because we're following these instructions. So yeah. Hmm. I wonder if it doesn't like that we're using 2.7.4. All right, let's maybe try that. And then we'll take a break because this is going to take a second. So let's do this. Let's use 2.7.4 because that's like the only thing I can really think about for now. So let's do an RBENV install 2.7.4. And yeah, let's take about, after you run this, you can take like a 15-minute break. So we'll come back at, let's just call it 11 o'clock. Because this one, I think this is probably going to take about 5 minutes for me, but I think I have like a new computer and fast internet. So it might take a little longer for you. So we'll install 2.7.4. So we'll have that Ruby version. And because I do believe this error is coming, with obviously I'm seeing it in the iOS folder. But yeah, cool.
James, if you want to experiment with mine, I actually have 2.7.4 installed on my computer already and 3.0.2.
Cool. Do you want to share your screen? Just
Sure.
check it out. Be nice. So
Yeah, I'm getting the same failures you are.
but did you
But I have
you do-
both.
okay with 3.0.2?
With both. So I've tried like 3.0.2 and then I changed my gem file to 2.7.4 again.
I'll change go to your terminal. Let's just see. And if you type in like RBN version in that directory, which one is it? Does it say it's using?
3.0.2 still.
Yeah, so let's try this. Go back to VS Code. And did you switch it in the .rbenv file?
I deleted my .rbenv file.
All right, let's recreate that.
Okay.
So it's if there's dash, it's .ruby dash version.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just throw in 2.7.4 inside of there.
Okay. You want me to match the gem file?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Now go in and try to. So go back to your terminal. Just make sure, like, type RBENV version, just to make sure it's using 2.7.4.
Okay.
Is it still?
I can move this up. Sorry. It
Oh.
says 7.4.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, so now I'll try doing the MPX. Yeah.
Still getting the same errors.
Still the same error.
Yeah.
Okay. It's all good. That probably means I'll get that same error. Okay, if I'm still gonna wait because I know I said 10, but if you're here, I just slacked out some commands. So essentially, all I did was just recreated a new project. And pretty much, ran the same commands. So, and I have it working. So maybe, and I did successfully install 2.7.4, but I don't know, maybe it's using both, but this did work. So you just have 2.7.4 installed, cd back to like your week 9 directory or whatever, and run those commands. You should, it should work. So I'm not sure why it didn't work on that first one, because it's not like we did anything. It might be because of the mismatch of the Ruby version, but okay, yeah. So let's get started. Yeah, in Slack, I have just the commands to create a React Native project. Then you cd into that folder. Then you add the 2 or those 3 libraries we need for React navigation. Then you run that pod install command to link the libraries for iOS. And then you just can run your npx React Native run iOS. And for me, that got it working. So now it's going to take a second to rebuild, but I can, what I'll do, just to kind of time this as well, I'll kind of just go through those steps here. So yeah, cd back into whatever, like a root directory, like your week 9 directory. Let's recreate this npx React Native init. React Native 3, since I already have a 2.1. And I will say this has been my experience with React Native. I think the setup of it and like getting it working can be a little more difficult than just like a React app. There's kind of a lot more of these like bugs, but I think like once you get stuff up and running, it's not bad. It's just when you're trying to like, if you're trying to like update a version of like a library or you're trying to add a library, sometimes there can be these issues that you run into, in particular with React Native. Yeah. So if you're following along, once your app were to build, and these commands are just also in Slack, so you just cd into your project. Go ahead and yarn add at React navigation. Cool. My npx pod install iOS. And npx react native iOS. And yeah, that's going to take a second to build.
James, I'm getting a bunch of different errors, but I might just have to like work with you later because I think it's, I don't know, something weird with my setup, I think.
Okay.
So I might just follow along today.
Yeah, today when you're following along, I think a lot of these, do they not have these examples on? You can like, if on the React navigation, they'll have like this, try this example on Snack. So you can load like a Snack library, like you can grab this and maybe kind of try to follow along on here so that they'll have that. So it looks like they have, yeah, this would actually has pretty much, I think, everything we need. So I think you'd be able to follow along on here. I would just say, do it, select the web tag, because if you like try to do it on this one, they usually make you wait in a queue. If you just do the web version, then you can see the example. What's this error? Oh, I'm on a different app right now. No, this one. That one does not seem to be building. This do an npx react start. I might have I spelled react wrong. That one wasn't working because I had my bundler running for another project, so it built, but it wasn't bundling these files. Now it is, and there we go. Yeah, if yours is still not working, go ahead and look at this example. Does that not pull this one up though? This. If you click on the try this example on Snack that I just slacked out, that should take you to this. So if you can't get the React Native working, then you can use that Snack one. Just to give you a little more time just for stuff to build. And we won't add this maybe right now, but maybe at the end. You know, just like there is with React, there's like UI libraries for React Native. So React Native, you know, UI library. So there's, you know, if we were to look at some of them, React Native Paper, React Native Elements. There's like a material one. So for example, let's just look at like the React Native Elements. So this is going to be a lot like Semantic or Bootstrap, where you know, we can go and we can add this library. It looks like this one, you know, would just be an add. It doesn't look like there's any native stuff going on with this. But here, you know, we can then add this to our package into our like project, and then we can have like their components, which might just give us some, you know, kind of some better styled items. Like some icons, stuff like that. So there's different options. I would say they're not as like, the options aren't as great as like you get with like React, but there are these kind of libraries out there. So if you're really looking for like fast development, you know, that looks decent. You know, there you have these options. Cool. So I'm going to split a new pane. So let's get started. And actually another thing, just while this is building, I can talk about before we actually do any code is just briefly going over, because we're going to install what's called a Tab Navigator. And let me open this up in code so I have it. Code dot. It's all set up. So let's see here. New New file. It's going to create a demo.js. All right, so there's two data structures you might have heard about or just kind of seen, or you've seen these terms. So I think we've all heard the term stack, you know, Stack Overflow. We've all seen like maybe that error, and then a queue. So these are two data structures, two common data structures. And these are just essentially lists. So a stack is a list that's going to be the first in, last out. Think of like plate. Think of a stack of plates. So I was saying the other day, I worked at a restaurant and as a dishwasher, and like I would stack the plates. And it's kind of like the first one you put in, like, is the last one that's ever going to get taken out because it's at the bottom. And then you just keep adding on top to that stack. I always get this. Yeah. So if you're putting the first, you're always going to take the one off at the top. And then you have a queue. So this is first in, first out. And this is just, think of a line. So you get taken, you get, you know, when you get into a line, the whole point is if you're the first in, you're the first out. So there's like that order of, you know, you get served by the order you came into that line. But really these, like a stack and a queue, are just lists behind the scene that kind of have these specialized things. And you'll find, you know, something like function calls, like if you're calling functions, that a stack's going to be a good data structure to kind of maintain that, because that's just how it kind of works. And if you're like processing orders or you want to do stuff, you know, an order, a queue is going to be a good data structure. So, and when we talk about a stack, there's going to be like, you can really add something to the stack and then you can pop something off the stack. So it's called like usually pushing and popping from the stack. And I'm just bringing that up because what we're adding right now, the next thing to React navigation, and is we're just going to do a quick demo on a Stack Navigator. And what you can kind of think of as the stack, and why they call it a Stack Navigator, is because what you're doing is you're stacking on the pages onto your app. So it can keep pushing on to your app pages, and then you can pop them off. So that's like a good, and the UI you're going to see for that is like if you like click a button that takes you to a page, and then you could click another button that takes you to a sub page, and then each of those you could click back. So like the back button is going to like pop it off the stack. So if you have this up and running, you can do it on you know, in VS Code and with your emulator. If you don't, you can use the snack link that I sent out in Slack. And you won't have to do this if you're using the snack, but if you're setting this up with your React Native app, we'll have to do this. So if we want to use the Stack Navigator with React Navigation, we need to install it. So we need to do a yarn add React Navigation native stack. Now this one I don't have to go in and link because all of the linking stuff we need has already been added. This is just a JavaScript library, so I don't need to do any more linking or setting that up with iOS. All right. So let's just kind of build this out. I'm not gonna, I mean, we could just copy and paste this, but let's just build this out. So you could follow along because I'm just gonna do this all in the app.js. So if you're doing this in Snack, you can just edit this in the app.js. So open up VS Code. Let's go to our app.js. I'm just going to delete all of this. Start from scratch. So we're going to import React from React. I'm going to eventually want like, we'll keep this simple for now, view and text. React Native. We'll maybe throw this in a separate file, but I could right here just create a function, which is actually just going to be a React component. So let's just do it all in here so we can kind of see it all together. So let's say we had a home screen. A component. And then so we're going to need to import some other stuff. So I'm going to do a import navigation container. React Navigation Native. And then I'm also going to import create native stack navigator from React Navigation native stack. Then I can make this stack right here, const stack equals create stack navigator. Again, my app const app, just do a functional component. Return. Let's grab that navigational container. And then I'm going to grab my stack dot navigator. Stack dot screen. It's going to be self-closing tag. So I'll give this a name. This is going to be, and then the component, then I can give it a React component, which is just going to be my home. And then I can export default. Notice here, like I have a, I have like this bar right here, this white bar, and then I have the screen. So this is kind of the UI that I'm given for the Stack Navigator. There's a lot of like with React navigation, there's a lot of customization you can do as far as how this looks, but we're gonna just kind of use the default for now. But now I have like my home screen here. Yeah, we could go ahead and add some style like they did in the example just to center this. So we could do a flex 1 just to make everything grow. Line items. Center. And justify content. Center. So here we have, yeah, just our basic Stack Navigator, but let's come in and create another screen for this. So for this, what we can do is come in. I'm just going to copy this home screen. And let's do like a, I don't know, another, or we get, I guess, kind of following their example, we could call this detail screen. Likewise, I can come into my Stack Navigator. I can add another screen to this. So we'll call this details screen and details, and we'll give this the details screen component. I have two screens on here, but it is just still showing the home screen. So, and like I said, this isn't like, we're not going to have a link. So it's not going to be like an A tag, because that's where this kind of deviates from like React Router. We're not using like links. We're just going to use React navigation to navigate. But what I could do, so how do I do that? Let's go to like my home screen. And let's just go ahead and like do like a button. And then we could like title here. Gate to details. Close that. And then our button's going to have a on press. Cool. So for our on press, we can pull off a navigation prop. Kind of like with React Router, if you remember, like if our React Router was wrapped in like that route component, we had access to some props that were given to us by React Router. So it's similar with React navigation. Since we're wrapping this in our stack component, we're going to get this navigation prop. And so on press, what I can do is I can use that prop, this navigation, and I can call this navigate method on that. And then give it the match the name of the screen I want to navigate to. So I want to navigate to this detail screen. So now when I click on that, it takes me to the detail screen. And now I have a back button because I've pushed something onto this Stack Navigator, and now I can click that back and go back to my home screen. And we could, just to repeat, we could add another screen. Let's call this, I don't know, just call this another screen. Copy this button right here. Let's just have this one like navigate to another. And I just need to add that to my Stack Navigator. There's the name, another detail screen. Another screen. So here I'm on my detail screen. I could go back to my home screen, or I can navigate to another. Can't find variable navigation. So right here, I need to pull that from props, navigation. There's my another screen. I can go back to the details. Now that screen was popped off the stack. Now I'm on this one, so I could go back home. So there's the Stack Navigator. Any questions on that? Let's do like another thing we might want to do with like a Stack Navigator is, pass some details. So let's just say on this detail screen, we want to pass this some details from our home screen. So what I can do here is kind of similar to what we do in React routers. I can, as a second argument, I can pass an object. And then I can pass some parameters here. So I don't know, like, let's say I had like an ID, one name, from home screen. And something we'll probably want, like, because you could think of like a good use case for like a Stack Navigator is you would have like a list of items, and then you would click on one of those items and it would go to the like detail screen. So maybe like just to kind of maybe show something like to kind of make this a little more realistic. Now I could add like 2 buttons here, where they would have different information. So I could navigate to details 1 or navigate to details 2. Sorry, those should still both take me to the details page. Right, they'll still take me to the details page, but now I need to want to pass maybe that like ID and the name. So that's what I'm doing here. Now I need to grab them. So what I can do here is I can grab this route prop. And I can match those here. So I could do like const, I called them ID and name, pull those off of this route prop. dot params. This ID, and then the name. The name. We go to details 1. So that's the detail screen for this one. So that would be ID 1, detail 1. If I went back, selected on details 2, that give me ID 2 and detail 2. Cool. So questions on that? So although this is different than React Router, like like behind the scenes, like it is working differently. It's kind of like the same, like high level idea. And like they're so similar that like when I'm writing, like I'll sometimes like mix up, you know, the things from React Navigation and the things from React Router. Because they work, I mean, as far as how you code them, you kind of code them very similarly. Cool. Let's look at a different one. So another common, we go look at the React, another common thing that you'll use with React Navigation is the Tab Navigator. React Navigation. Tab Navigator. So let's look at this example. We'll kind of just follow their basic example, and then what we'll do is I think what you can really start doing to like build a more powerful UX with this is you kind of combine the two. But let's just go ahead and kind of there. Let's just build out just the basic Tab Navigator example. So I'm going to do, just to clean this up just a little bit, I'm going to do const, let's just call this stack 1. I'm just going to put this to a component. Just going to take this stack navigator I have, throw that in here. So I should just be able to use this like stack 1. That should be the same. Cool. So let's go ahead and do this now. So I'm just going to get rid of this because we're going to move on to the Tab Navigator. So for the Tab Navigator, what I want to import is import. Actually, this is getting a little. I'll just do it here just to keep this all on the same page. Okay, so I would want to like, you know, have a home screen page, detailed screen, but we'll kind of just keep this all on for now, and then maybe we can clean it up later. So the next thing for a Tab Navigator, I just do the create bottom Tab Navigator. This is going to be, oh wait, I don't think we added this. Sorry, that's kind of why I pulled up this page. Because for this one, once again, if we're using like a tab navigator, we need to install it. This yarn add React Native bottom tabs, and I'll select this out. Go yarn. So we need to install that. Let's see if it actually can recognize it now. Cool. So very similarly to what we did with the Stack Navigator, is I can just go ahead and call this, I don't know, tabs or something. Tab. And set that equal to that create, what do I call this function? Create bottom tab navigator. And then for my I'm gonna just create some different components, but I'm gonna like essentially, let's just do this here. Let's create a component called const. Let's say like we have like a main page. Copy one of these basic components. Main screen. And I'll just copy this one and we'll say we have like a setting screen. Main has already been declared. Oh, settings. So then I could come here and I could do my const tabs, kind of like what I did. This, I'm going to set this equal to a component. Return. So this time I'll grab my tab dot navigator. And then I'll do a tab dot screen. So it's just like we did with the stack navigator. We're just doing a tab navigator. So this one name can be equal to main. And the component, main component. Another one for my setting screen. And then now I can just throw this tabs inside of my app. Now I have a tab navigator. So here's my main screen. It's missing an icon, so it's just a question mark. And then I have the settings. That takes me to my settings screen. Any questions on this? Pretty kind of pretty straightforward. Let's do one other thing though, and then we'll take a little break just to kind of show how you can, start to create some more complicated UXs and UIs. So remember I have this stack 1 screen. So this is a stack navigator, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another component here. So let's call this like, let's just for now call it stack screen. Or did I actually, I'll call this stack 1. I'll just have it match the name of the component. So that's what I'm going to throw here for my component. So I can have I have this bottom tab navigator, and it has, one screen, which is just a React component, but then it has another screen, which is a stack component. So I could go main, and then I could click on this stack 1. And now all of a sudden I have that stack component inside of within like the context of my tab navigator. And then I can like navigate to those pages. All the meanwhile, while my stack navigator is remaining there. So I can be in like details too, and then go to my settings page. Go back to my stack screen. It's going to be back. It's going to be at that same page it was at. I'm going to take this whole thing and slack it out. So yeah, we've kept these pages really simple, but just from like this demo, let's kind of look at like what we have. We have a home screen, which, theoretically we could have a whole bunch of list of data. And then we can click on that list of data, which would take us to like a detailed screen. And, we could even go even further. So with the stack, you can just go as like far as you want. Just keep adding stuff. So that's just that's one of our stack components. Then we have like a detail screen. We have another screen. But then we also have we could have like a main screen, as far as our tab navigator goes. So we have like how many components do we have in here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, 7 components. So yeah, you're starting to see like with React navigation and with what you already know about React, you can really go in and build some pretty, complicated web apps. So this is part of the reason why, people like React Native. It's kind of like a quicker way to develop some native apps, and you get the side bonus of like getting Android and iOS done kind of at the same time. So cool. Let's go ahead. Let's take a break. Let's come back at 12. Mike, I don't know if you want me to look at that issue now. I can take a peek at it if you want me to.
Yeah, I can talk to you about it a little bit more. I think it was a computer thing, but
Cool. Yeah, I'll stop sharing. Yeah. Yeah, if you want to, you can come back at 12.
I guess I kind of went down a whole like rabbit hole with this. But basically I went into my like I was getting this error that was like I couldn't install pods because there wasn't enough device storage. And then when I went into my storage, it was like I had like 4 gigs left or something. Like it was anyway, it was like super high. And then but it was like all this system data stuff that like all of a sudden shot up. And I did some Googling and people were like, you have to like start your computer in a safe mode and then calculate your storage and then restart it, and then it calculates it correctly. So I got it down to like where my system data is now like 92 gigs, but I'm still not sure why it's that high. So anyway, that's what I was running into. It was like, it wouldn't let me do anything because I couldn't do a pod install because my system data is so high. But also like, I'm not sure why I keep having to do a pod install because I have like 3.0.2 and 2.7.4, but every time I try to create a project, it makes me like I get that thing that's like, you have to install pods with Homebrew or with gems. I've tried it with both. It says it's there, but I still get the errors. So then I have to go in like just install the dependencies in the iOS folder. And to do that, I have to change the gem file to 3.0.2 like we were doing.
Yeah, because I think when you do like the npx React Native Start, it just automatically, because you do have to install the pods, but yeah, it's
Right.
it's making you do it like it's manually making you do it.
Yeah, and I have, like I said, I have 2.7.4 on my computer. So like, even if it wanted 2.7.4, that's there. But anyway, I mean, I can make that work. I think the biggest deal was this like system data thing. I'm not sure why that all of a sudden like shot up super high. So
Yeah,
that's what I'm
what
working
that
on.
is. Do you know what that is?
It says it's like your user libraries and like app caches and things like that. But it's like really hard to get to because like if you go to like manage where you can normally see all your stuff, and you go, where was it? Usually it'll pop up down here with like that grayed out, so you can't actually like access them.
Yeah.
But like you can go, like if you open up your Finder, you can go to, try to remember how I got to it. If you do like go, you can go to the folder, and I kind of got, yeah, where I could get to like my library. It was just so that like can take you into your library and you can see like your caches, and I could look at like the info on them and stuff like that, but I couldn't find anything that was like extraordinarily high, so I'm not sure why it's, I don't know what's going on with it.
Yeah, because that,
Like I said, when I had to do a restart in safe mode to even get it to like, because it had like 4 gigabytes available, and I got that like to 80 gigabytes available now. But
yeah, because 90 gigs of, yeah, I just wonder what that is.
But it seems like it was after we started doing this like React Native stuff that shot up. So I'm not sure what's going on. Anyway, that's what it is. So I don't know if there's much we can do about that or not. Yeah, I mean, like if I go look at my caches, that's like 11 gigs, which is like not nothing, but I'm not sure like what's taking up so much space.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot just to be caching.
Yeah, and I thought about like going in, because you can go in and you can clear stuff out of here, but people are like, if you don't know what you're clearing, like you can really screw up your computer. But like, there's Cocoa Pods here, and I was like, well, maybe it was when I installed that. So I like got the info on that, and that's like not much. It's like 400 megabytes.
Yeah, like that low, like 90, it's like, is it caching like emulators? If it happened when you did Xcode. What is homebrew? That should be like not big.
Yeah, it's like less than 200 megabytes.
Okay. What about like the React? I thought I saw one that was like React Native CLI.
Yeah, I looked at, where's that one? I looked at that one too. It's not much. 200 bytes.
Is your Yarn one big? Like that one should be not. That should be small.
It's 1 gig. I don't know what this image cache is. 0. Anyway, so yeah, this is what I'm trying to figure out is like, I don't,
But your caches were like that was your total was 11 gigs.
yeah.
So there's nothing like. I mean,
Yeah, there's nothing huge in here. Like yeah, I don't know what it is. It's like no audio. Anyway, I don't know that this is something that you want to tackle or need to tackle. That's what I'm running into is like, I'm not sure why it's doing this all of a sudden.
yeah, I'm I'd probably be on the same page with you though. I wouldn't know where to look.
Yeah, it's just going to take some work on it, but I think I got it to where I can like use my computer today. So I'm glad you're recording this lecture because I kind of had to like bounce in and out a little bit. So, but anyway. Everything that I've seen on it, people are like, download third-party things to like optimize your storage or whatever, and like clean my Mac X or something.
Well, your Mac had 250 gigs of storage, right?
256, yeah. Yeah, I mean, when I bought this Mac, I like asked a bunch of people that do programming and stuff. I was like, how much do I need? And they're like, you don't need much because it's all text files. And like the actual documents folders and stuff in the desktop folders are like minimal. It's just that system data. So I'm not sure. Yeah.
If I'm looking at mine, it's 58.
Oh, now my system data dropped to 40.
Yeah, mine's at 58 right now, but it just dropped to 40.
Yeah, I think it's just calculating it wrong today or something. So I might just need to like, because my documents jumped up and my system data dropped down to 40. So that would make sense. Because I still have like all my React apps on here that could go clear off and stuff that I just haven't done.
Yeah.
But
those can get huge if you have a whole bunch of React apps.
yeah, I mean, I assume that those would all be in my documents, which is like 30 gigs right now. So anyway, yeah, I'll try to figure it out more, but I don't think it was anything to do with like the React Native.
Cool. All right, so let's get started. Let's just for the just remaining bit of lecture, let's just see what we can build with what we've learned in 2 days. Let's see how far we can get just in 45 minutes. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to create a new file. I'm just going to call this app1.js. Yeah, app1.js. I'm just going to take what I have in my app.js.
You're not screen sharing, James.
Oh, thank you. And I'm going to throw it in there. So let me share my screen. Cool. So I just took what I had in my app1.js and threw it there. I think this can be kind of a quick way to look at this by seeing everything kind of in the same file. Not how you'd actually want to do it, because it's a little messy, but it's kind of good just as an example. So as far as screen or folder organization goes with React Native, there's not a conventional way to do it. One thing we could do, kind of like we've been doing, I want to create a new folder inside of here. So I could do a screens folder. And in here, this is where maybe I could throw my screens. So say, for instance, we want to do the home.js. Just go in and maybe copy this one. So I'm going to get rid of these buttons for now. And these navigators. Depending on how complicated too, I might have a actually, I'll probably just do this all. We'll just do this all in the app. So what we're going to do in my app.js is let's first just start by creating a tab navigator. So I'm going to do one other file. Let's just do a settings screen. And I can just copy what I have in my home. Or I need to export default this one. It's in my settings. And then maybe just in here. In my bottom tab. So here I can create that bottom tab navigator. Kind of taking the code I have from this app, just cleaning it up. Say this is my home screen. I'm going to get rid of that stack navigator. We'll kind of recreate that. home screen, settings screen. Okay. We also need to import these. So import React from React. And I'm going to need to import that create bottom tab navigator. So I can just pull that off of here. And yeah, I'm just going to clean up my app.js really quickly. So I'm going to get rid of all those screens and keep the navigation container there. Bottom tabs. Can't find variable home. Where's that here coming from? Okay. So now I just have like my home screen and I have my settings screen. Cool. Just cleaned up quite a bit. So let's say for this home screen, we want to do like an Axios call and grab some data and actually work with some data. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's use this rec res insight. We'll just use this users one where we grab these fake users. So we get like an ID, email, first name and last name, and an avatar. So we would want to do a yarn add Axios. And actually just for this demo, let's try. Let's maybe even try using a UI library. Let's get started, where to start, guides. Oh, I don't know if I want to use that one. Okay, since we're going, let's see if React Native Elements. I feel like they didn't make us do a pod install. All right, let's just try this. So I'm going to do a yarn add React Native Elements. Maybe I'll use some of them. Okay. So yeah, we've added Axios, we've added React Native Elements. Also slack out this URL we're going to use for our Axios call. So let's go ahead and set that up. We've also done so many like use effect. So I'll just go through that. Let's just do that pretty quickly. So in my home screen, you know, just our good old fashioned use state, use effect, just to do our component did mount. Be nice if we had that use Axios on mount hook, but we'll just do this. So use effect. And put our empty array in, get, call this get users. Get users. This will be async. Let's try catch. I'm just going to do a console.log error for now. Let response equal await axios.get. Paste in that URL from Slack. And then we're going to need some like user state. So set users or const users and set users. Use state. And then here we can set users to res.data.data. Remember, there's this extra data here just because how this API gives back their data. So this whole thing is res.data, this whole object, but then it also has a data key, which has my user information. That's why I need to do res.data.data here. Cool. And we can just do a quick little check to see that this is working by just doing a JSON.stringify users. And this is saying it needs to be rendered. I need to render that in the text component. There we go. There's my users. So that's working. I have my Axios call set up. So then I could create like a render users function. Let's just see really quickly if we can get like a React Native element like card working. Let's see. Yeah, I think this one looks decent. So it looks like we have a card with a title, then a divider, then an image, and then some text and a button that's got button style. So I'm just going to copy this whole card right here. I'll throw this out in Slack. So what I'm going to do for my render users is I'm going to do my users dot, and let's return this, return users dot map, go through each user, parentheses, and then I'm going to paste that card inside of here. I'm going to leave this hard coded for now just to see if I can get this working. So I think all I need to do is, now notice how they have text and they have their own button. So that they're using. So I'm going to go ahead and import these. So let's say I wanted to use both text from React Native and the text from React Native elements. Kind of like, why would you ever want to do that? Not sure why, but let's just say I do. So I would have to rename one of them. So this one I could rename like this. So if I wanted to use the React Native text, I could just rename that, call that like React Native text. Right, now I'm getting this error, React Native vector icons could not be found. Let's go back to the React elements documentation. I thought I saw something maybe about installing the vector icons. All right, if your project is a standard React Native project created and using React Native in it, then we need to install these. Okay, so let's just run this one. Oh man, it's gonna make me link. Let's try and avoid this. All right, let's see if this works. So let's just go ahead and run this. Yarn add React Native vector icons. And then link. So let me throw these up. Oh, that seemed to fix it. Let's see if that fixed. Maybe their documentation is a little out of date. Oh yeah, it's right here. It's not necessary because we have that right version. So go ahead and run this. Nope, that's not. Wait, what? Sorry, one second. I want to make sure which command I just ran. Okay, sorry. Go ahead and run this command. Yarn add React Native vector icons. And that seemed like that fixed the error. Cool. But let's see if it's actually working. So what I'm going to do is, let's go ahead and call that render users function right here. Doesn't seem to be. I'm grabbing that, right? Let's do a command R. So what I did, I'm going to try restarting my bundler. So I do a React npx React Native start. I'm going to try reloading. It rebundles. Unrecognized font family material icon. All right. Let's see if I can just get this to work without. Icons. Let's see where they're using this. So Command F. All right, let's get rid of this icon prop right here. And my button. Cool. Sweet. So now I have this list of things. It's not, but it's stuck here. So it's not scrolling because that's where I need my scroll view. So I could go ahead and wrap this whole thing in a scroll view component. Actually, let's just do my whole. Let's do the whole thing in a scroll view. This whole home.js. Take this scroll view. I'm going to get rid of this style too. Get rid of that. Is this not scrolling? What am I doing wrong here? Like my emulator's like broken. It's not letting me like click on anything. Okay, now I just had to refresh it. So there's my scroll view. So now the next thing I could just do is just replace, now that I have these cards, you know, let's go ahead and actually use our data from our Axios call. So this can be, I'll say u dot, forget what it is. It's u dot avatar. For the title, we can do u dot first name. Last name. Need to interpolate that. So now we have like the image, and for here, what else do we have here? We can maybe just do their email for the text down here. Yeah, I can get rid of this JSON stringify. Don't need that anymore. So I probably don't even need this RN text, but I just kind of want to leave that there. Just, you know, just to show sometimes you do get into a situation where you might import two things that have the same name and you want to use both of them. So you just have to rename one of them. Cool. So now let's say on this button page, And let's do this as well. Let's say on this button page, we want to, when we click the button, we want this to go to like a detailed screen. Right, that would make sense. There's a user, we could click on that user and then it would show information about that user. So let's do a new screen. Let's call this user detail.js. And okay, so for the user detail, let's just get this working so we can like see what our user looks like. So just to make sure we're like passing down those, the data correctly. So we'll just make this pretty bare bones. So we're at view and text from React Native. User detail. Just for now, get our navigation kind of set up. So we'll just say like hardcode user detail. Cool. So now we have we have a list. We have this just kind of stubbed out component. So in my bottom tabs, what I could start doing here is creating that Stack Navigator. So I could go to my app one. What I want is this create Stack Navigator thing here. And I don't know, maybe I might have more than one stack, so maybe I'll call this like home stack. And this is going to be equal to create native Stack Navigator. I can do like my const. Should I call this? Oh, I'll just call this stack and then I'll call this one home stack. All right, so now I can start creating this Stack Navigator. So this will be Stack Navigator. And this is where I can throw my 2 screens that I'm going to have for this. So we could have stack.screen. So this one's going to be name equals home. This component is going to be my home component. I'm also going to have that like user detail. Sorry, that's my home. I called this home screen. This is going to be my user detail. S in here. So now I could call that like home stack. And that's now, instead of having the, for my tab navigator, instead of it being the home screen, I'm going to have it be the home stack. And this, I need to return this. So there's my, I have my home stack, there's my home screen, and then I can click view now. Oh yeah, we didn't set up that button. So let's set up this button. So when we click this view now, it navigates us to the user detail. So here we could do our button, we can do our on press. This is going to be user, what do I call it? User detail for now. Okay, and I call it the home stack. Oh no, wait, user detail. So on press, oh wait, we're going to do this. Sorry, I need to throw on the function here. We're going to do the navigation dot navigate. And then we'll go to the user detail. Now this navigation, I'm going to need to grab from props, which I have right there. So I already have it. Let's refresh. If I click on that, that now takes me to the user detail page, but I'm going to want to pass it the user information. So that's as the second argument to this navigation.navigate. Let's just, for now, we can just spread out over the user. So I'm going to take every like attribute on my user and pass it down. So then in my user detail, I can grab that route prop, and then I can grab all of the stuff from my user. So that would be like ID, first name, last name, no, avatar, route.param. Text. Grab the ID. Just copy all of these. So we grab all of these just to show we're passing all of these down. So there's Lindsay. Let's make sure that all matches. So Lindsay Ferguson, ID 8, and there we go. So, you know, we could do whatever here. Maybe we need to do another Axios call, use the ID, but we're able to pass down, you know, the data from our home page, from our home screen to our user detail screen. Let's see what else we can do. Let's just for, just kind of for demos, let's say on our settings screen, you know, maybe just to kind of show, you could make this, you know, complicated, or you could have this be a little more functional. you know, maybe on the settings screen, we have like a, new file, we have like a update info. Where you could update your user. Let's say, yeah, let's call it update info, which could just be, take my settings screen kind of in here. Update info. Cool. So we could go to my bottom tabs. And for this one, we could create, I could kind of just copy what I have for this stack navigator. We could do like a settings stack. So let's just switch this. So stack screen, that could be our settings screen. We could also have like a info. Update info page. So now our tab navigator could be two, let's see, found screens with the same nested stack. Did oh, okay, I have two different names. I'm going to call this settings stack. So now I have my tab navigator. You can kind of think like that's like my root. And then that, you know, I could click in my home stack, I can go to like the user detail, my settings stack. We go to my settings screen. Let's add a link here. Button. React Native Elements. User. And then on press. Again, we could do our navigation dot navigate. Let's update info. And so now we have a stack navigator in the settings stack in our tab navigation. I mean, you can like start throwing like other tab navigators in the tab navigator, but it starts to get messy. There's also, we won't talk about it, there's a drawer navigator. Just to kind of show you what it is. For navigator. See an example of it on Expo. So yeah, the drawer navigation, this can be good if like, you know, because I think that the tab one is definitely, as far as UX go, is preferred. But let's say, yeah, potentially you have like maybe 20 main sections. Then you might want to go something with like the drawer navigator, because then you can have a nice little list. And also, like, if this was a phone, you could like drag and drop it. Like you can do like the left to right swipe to get that. So that's the drawer navigation. Cool. But that is, essentially that, as far as, our React Native. Like I said, in 45 minutes, we're doing an Axios call, we're grabbing data, we have a list of things. We can then, click on that, go to like a detail page. You can go to like a whole different section of our app that might be like a settings page, where we could have, an update info section. We could have, and like once we have this set up, it wouldn't be that hard. It's not that hard just to completely add a complete new feature, like, I don't know, heart rate. Yes, or heart rate settings. So now I could take whatever I have inside of here. I have a heart rate settings page. So, now I can have like this little mini app that's a part of like my bigger app. Just throw that in my bottom tab navigator. Settings. Just add a link to that somewhere. There, then that goes to that heart rate setting screen. But did that throw that in the stack? How did I throw that? I accidentally threw that in my stack, or in my tab navigator. Because I think I added it to my tab navigator. I meant to add that here. And that's going to be a stack screen. Settings, heart stuff. Go back to my settings, could have an update user. So yeah, if you like look at like your settings page, like if you go to like settings in your like iOS device, maybe I can just show this actually. Settings. See, that's just a whole bunch. That's just like a stack navigator. Oh, there's a stack navigator and a stack navigator. Just these nested stack navigators. But I can always just go back. Then I could have all, create that UI. But like this settings page right here, this is just like a really super nested like stack navigator. Because this would be one stack navigator. That's a nested one. That's a nested one. And now I'm on actually like a screen finally. But that's all that is. So you could definitely create this settings app, you know, that had all of this stuff with nothing more than just a stack navigator. And like with React, it'd be pretty easy to make, you know, to spend a little time and, you know, make this, you know, look like this, where you had an icon and then a title. Would not be that hard. See if we can find an app on here that has like a stack navigator. See, like if we look at this one, there's just a stack navigator, or sorry, a tab navigator. And inside of this tab navigator is a stack navigator. So that's really all these are. Cool. But I think that is it for this. Any questions on React navigation or React Native? That's like I said, it's pretty straightforward. It definitely, I think it's a little more trickier when you run into like configuration issues and like setup. React Native definitely is going to be a little more frustrating, but like once you get it working, I think the development experience is actually pretty nice, because you got like the live refresh. It's a lot of resources, a lot of Stack Overflows and documentation out there. And we just touched like the surface of React navigation. There's a lot you can do to like really customize this and how it looks. So like we probably don't want to have both of these like home stack and home here. I could definitely get rid of that. Sweet. I think that's good for today. Yeah, well, you'll have your design briefs today. So I think it's going to be a good day to kind of plan, maybe set out a plan for like Wednesday and Thursday, just to try to get feature complete by Friday. And yeah, I think we can take lunch now. Sweet. So if there's no questions, let's just call it 2 o'clock. We'll see you back at 2 o'clock at the TA channel.
Are you gonna push that up to a GitHub repository?
Yeah, I can do that. I'll do that right now. I need to create one. I'll throw that out in Slack. Cool. Have a good lunch, everyone. We'll see you in an hour. Throw this up.